Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Brian Burke on the line, and he's the President and CEO over at Praxis Capital. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
So I'm excited to get more into what you're doing over at Praxis Capital and how you're helping your clients. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career and in business?
Well, I got started as a real estate investor when I was 20 years old, and kind of just out of high school, and had no real estate knowledge, no connections in the business, no money, and no family or friends that had any history in real estate. So I figured I had everything I needed to become a professional real estate investor, and went for it.
That's awesome. And I know, many people that started in real estate are in that same boat. And I also know, you've been in business now going on 20 years at Praxis Capital, which I'm excited to get more into. So obviously it worked out for you. But that being said, there's some younger entrepreneurs or younger, just graduating college that are out there, and they're in a similar boat. They're like, I want to go into real estate, but I don't have the background. If you could give that younger Brian that was just getting started some advice, of course, having the benefit of hindsight now, what kind of things would you tell him?
Well, I would say, the thing that propelled me more than anything else was just getting out there and taking action. And so for me, it was, it was looking at real estate. It was trying to figure out a way to buy property. And, I bought my first property with, kind of this no money down tactics that you see on late night TV, where, you get a loan for, most of the purchase price, and the seller carries back the rest of the purchase price. And, you just have to get creative and work with the resources that you have. And that's exactly how I did it. And no step is too small. It may seem like, gosh, I want to be a big apartment syndicator, but, I don't want to waste my time with this $80,000 single-family house. Well, if that $80,000 single-family house is the only action that you can actually take, you've got to take that action, because momentum breeds momentum. And without getting started and taking, one step at a time, you just go nowhere. So one thing I learned early on was everything that you do, every action or step that you take, is a building block towards your career. And I look back now, and after having bought $500 million in real estate in my career, and know that it all started with like an $80,000 single family house.
Man, I love that. What a great, inspiring story. And I'm a fan of the momentum thought process that you mentioned, because I do see that happens quite often. Somebody thinks about it and they're like, they're trying to skip the steps in between. And maybe some people can do that if they have the resources or the right connection or anything else. But if you don't, you go grab that $80,000 house. I love it, Brian. That's great advice. I want to switch it up a bit. Let's get more into what you're doing over at Praxis Capital. So first, tell us a little bit more about the business, please.
Praxis Capital is a real estate private equity investment firm. Basically, we invest in multifamily real estate all across the United States. Our business is fueled almost entirely with capital that we raise from high net worth individuals and family offices. That network has grown 100% by word of mouth and referrals over a 20-plus year time period. So, basically what it looks like for us is, we'll buy a $20 million apartment complex, for example, and, we have to raise $8 million to make the acquisition, and we borrow the other $12 million from usually Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae or any number of multifamily lenders. Our model really is investor focused, where, really real estate is just kind of not really the driver, it's just the vehicle. And that's what we use to generate returns for our investors. So really the purpose of the business is to produce a return for investors' invested dollars. It just happens that we use real estate to accomplish that, because real estate's about the only thing I know.
Mm-hmm. Any type of, and you're obviously, these are big acquisitions and you've been in the business a long time. Any kind of trends that you care to comment on from your vantage point?
Yeah, there's, the people are always looking for, the market to signal some sort of a trend. And, one of the biggest questions or most common questions that we get is, what inning are we in? Is the market late cycle? Is the party almost over? Are the opportunities all gone? And the answer to that really is no. One of the beauties about real estate is there's a lot of different ways to approach real estate. There's different sectors such as residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality. There's so many different sectors in real estate. There's so many different geographies throughout the United States that are all in different phases of their own cycles on a local level. So there's always a way to take advantage of an element of the real estate market that will produce a healthy return. And so for us, it's really just trying to stay ahead of that curve and realize, what's working today in today's market, and then following that trend. Kind of like I always describe real estate as kind of like a meandering stream through a meadow that kind of sways from side to side. And if you're rowing a boat and you always row straight, I guarantee you'll run aground. You have to be nimble and be able to, turn left and turn right as the market dictates.
So what, and obviously you, as you mentioned, you've been in business, 20 years or so, and you developed a network, your investors. So there's some people listening right now that are thinking, they like your background, they like what you've done, and they're thinking if they're the right type of person to give you a call to talk about real estate investing or potentially making an investment. What's your sweet spot? What type of clients do you like working with?
Our sweet spot is, the high net worth individual or, individual with capital to invest is looking to diversify their portfolio into real estate. So I'd say our most common investor avatar is, the working professional. We have a lot of, tech executives or tech engineers from Silicon Valley is one of our big investor pools. We're located north of the Golden Gate Bridge, so just by proximity, I think we end up with a lot of tech investors. But these are folks that are looking to put money into real estate. They either don't trust or the stock market, or don't want to be in the stock market, or need to diversify from the stock market, and they're looking for alternative investments. So they'll invest anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000. Is probably our sweet spot on a per deal basis. And these are folks that some of them maybe make one investment with us, yet others might invest in every offering that we put out at a similar level.
Can you talk a little bit about, I think there's a lot of people in that investor pool that you just mentioned that are, tech executives or different things that they've been wanting to get into real estate, and they're kind of looking to make that decision of whether they're going to do it themselves, so to speak, or if they're going to work with a company like yours. Can you talk about some of the pros and cons for that executive? Because to me, I'll be upfront. I'm all about working with a company like yours versus do it yourself. I've bought real estate, I've done other things, and if you're an executive in your career, you just don't have time. There's no way. It is another job. It is another thing. It's not like you're pushing it. Real estate's highly inefficient. It's not like you're pushing a button buying a stock online. So can you just talk a little bit about that, just for some of those people that maybe haven't worked with a company like yours?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a very time-consuming business, and a lot of people just don't have the time to devote to essentially taking on a second job. For us, acquiring real estate, all across the country, we have 4 people dedicated full-time to doing nothing but sourcing real estate for our company. So imagine, having to work 4 full-time jobs in addition to the full-time job you're already working to keep up with that kind of a pace would be impossible for most people. But I think that it goes even beyond just time, in that there's also a lot of other things that people leverage when they work with a syndication sponsor, which is one of the monikers that we're given is syndication sponsor. If you're gonna work with a company like ours, you want to leverage several more things than just our time. The biggest one being relationships. If you're buying a single family home, you call your real estate agent, you get a list of homes that are available, you go make an offer on whichever one you want, and then you close escrow. That's how the process works. But in larger multifamily space, it's totally different. It's 100% relationship driven. Brokers will not award a deal to anybody they don't have a lot of confidence is going to close. So, they tend to stick to known buyers, and, you got to have those relationships in addition to, a legal team, an accounting team, and so on to be able to facilitate transactions at that scale. So it's really difficult to achieve the type of scale, in the larger properties, which is really where the efficiencies are. On an individual basis, it really requires a whole team. And unless you want to assemble one and then build a track record and a reputation, trying to do it yourself really isn't the way to go.
No, great advice there, Brian. And so if somebody's listening to this and they do want to learn more about Praxis Capital, what's the best way for them to reach out and get that info?
The best way to reach us is through our website, which is praxcap.com. It's praxcap.com. And there, of course, there's links on our website to all of our various social media channels. Another way is on biggerpockets.com, which is an online real estate forum, kind of like social media for real estate investors. There's a ton of educational resources on that website. I participate as a contributor to that site just by answering people's questions in the question and answer forums and writing blogs for their blogs. So people can also find us and learn more about us by researching us on that website.
Fantastic. Yeah, love the Bigger Pockets guys. Awesome content they put out, and I recommend that for anybody that even just wants to learn about real estate. If you're just getting started, especially a great resource. Well, hey, Brian, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing over at Praxis Capital. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes store, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Brian, thanks again for coming on the show.